Hi, and welcome back to the second hour, Free for All Friday, Focal Point, AFR Talk, 888-589-8840. Before we go back to the phones, I want to spend a couple of minutes on the immigration issue. And let's play a couple of sound bites. We've got some champions up there on Capitol Hill that are fighting against this monstrosity. Remember, we had that call from Luciano, Hispanic. He doesn't like amnesty bill any more than you and I do, and he doesn't because he is a devoted follower of Jesus Christ, and he knows what Christianity teaches, and that is to observe and obey and respect the rule of law, and you don't reward people that break our law. So here is Mike Lee talking about the immigration issue on the Senate floor yesterday. And he's talking about this whole immigration deal and the way this immigration, in particular, the way this immigration bill is being hatched, where it's being cobbled together by this gang of eight, this Amnesty 8, the Marco Rubio permanent Democratic majority bill, and then it's thrust in the faces of the senators, and they're told to vote for it, kind of up or down, take it or leave it. And, you know, Harry Reid right now is a complete rush to get this thing done. I'll tell you the reason I think people are speculating. Why is Harry Reid in such a rush to get this thing through? I think because he knows that support for this thing is slipping, that the more people find out about this thing, the longer this thing sits out there and rots in the sun of the summer, the less people like it, the more opposed they are to it, and the less chances are they're going to be able to sneak this past the American people. So that's why he's putting the bum's rush on the rest of Senate. And Mike Lee is a senator from Utah, and he has just about had it with this way of producing legislation like this. This is over 1,000 pages, got 448 pages of amendments. It weighs 24 pounds, and the more people read it, the worse this thing gets. So here's Mike Lee talking about it yesterday on the Senate floor.
Yes, in fact, I find it appalling. I find it repugnant to the system of government under which we're supposed to be operating. I find it even repugnant to Article 6 of the Constitution, which makes clear that there's one kind of constitutional amendment that is never appropriate. You can't amend the Constitution to deny any state its equal representation in the Senate. And if at any moment we end up with a situation in which we have second-class senators, senators that may... Yes, in fact, I find it appalling. I find it repugnant to the system of government under which we're supposed to be operating. I find it even repugnant to Article 6 of the Constitution, which makes clear that there's one kind of constitutional amendment that is never appropriate. You can't amend the Constitution to deny any state its equal representation in the Senate. And if at any moment we end up with a situation in which we have second-class senators, senators that may submit and propose for debate and discussion and a vote an amendment, if we have to go to the majority leader and say, "Mother, may I?" then perhaps we've lost something. Perhaps we've lost the environment in which each of the states were supposed to receive equal representation. It also seems to me to take on a certain character, a certain banana republic quality, that we're asked to vote on legislation in many circumstances just hours or even minutes after we've received it. We take on a certain rubber stamp quality when we do that. I remember a few months ago, in connection with the fiscal cliff debate, as we approached the fiscal cliff on New Year's Eve, we were told by our respective leaders, just wait, something's coming. Go back to your offices, watch your televisions, play with your toys, do whatever it is that you do, but, you know, be good senators, run along and stay out of trouble. We're taking care of this. We'll send you legislation as soon as we're ready.
So that's Mike Lee saying, look, what you really have here, when you have this way of doing legislation, which is how this Gang of Eight bill was crafted, it was done in secret by Marco Rubio, the other Republicans, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, Jeff Flake, and the Democrats. Dick Durbin and Chuck Schumer and whoever else was a part of this thing. They put that whole thing together in secret. It's 1,000 pages long. Then they trot it out and say, here, vote for this thing up or down. And Mike Lee says, look, that robs the state of Utah of their representation. You are not giving the citizens of Utah their representation because their senator has no opportunity to weigh in on this thing, no opportunity to be a part of crafting it. He's just told, take it or leave it, up or down. So Mike Lee, one of the really good guys up there on Capitol Hill. Well, let's go to the phones. Let's go to Kathy, Humble, Texas. Kathy, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Hi, Brian. Yes,
Hey.
I was just reading in the newspaper about the president, I guess, trying to set up a meeting with Iran and the new leader there. And I also read in an article, basically, Khomeini runs everything.
Uh-huh.
I also read something about, I don't know who the man was that was following the gold issues, but I'm wondering if the new president would, who the article basically said he's sort of sly from what I read in the article, okay? And if a war erupted in Iran between Israel and Iran, what that would do to the price of gold. What do you think that would do?
Well, I'm not in any position to comment on price of gold. I'm not any sort of an expert. Dan Celia really would be the guy we'd want to bring in to talk about that. But, I will say one thing, Kathy, about this new Iranian president. There's been a lot of talk out there, people saying, well, this guy is a moderate, and he most decidedly is not. I can't find the story here in my stack, but he's been a part of the leadership structure in Iran for decades, and he was actually part of a component of the Iranian government, and I'm not sure that he voted on this, but he was aware of it, and he was a part of the committee that actually shaped this. It was a plot that was executed. It was carried out by the Iranian government. I think they went through Hezbollah to do it, and I believe it was in South America. I'd have to go back and find the story to be precise on the details. I think it was in South America, and 85 Jews died. They blew up a synagogue. And this guy was a part of the conspiracy that hatched that plot. So that tells you everything you need to know about the guy that now, the president of Iran. There is no possible way that that guy is any sort of a conservative or a moderate whatsoever. Now, one of the things on the Islam issue that's worth noting, remember we had the Boston Massacre bombing. Did you know that the Boston police were in the process of training for a terrorist response? They were setting up a terrorist response exercise when that bomb blew up. Now, we know who the bad guys were there. They were Muslims. You know who the bad guys were in this scenario? And the Boston police never got around to doing the scenario because they had a real-life terrorist act that they had to respond to. It was called Operation Urban Shield. It cost $200,000. And the terrorist threat in this fictional attack was from a group called the Free America Citizens, described as a homegrown cadre of militiamen whose logo would be a metal skull wearing an Uncle Sam hat.